Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sara Jane, and I am delighted today to be joined by Katie Bruzzone. Katie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Now, Katie's going to be sharing Wildhearted Wisdom, the eternal child and animal spirit. But before we get started, let me share a little bit more about her. Katie Bruzzone is a leadership coach, innovation consultant, artist, and systems designer who helps people and organizations transform stuck energy into creative power. She is the founder of School of Self, a platform offering leadership development tools and services for all ages. A former Division I athlete with over a decade of experience in consulting and a double master's in science, Katie blends precision with playful mastery, integrating branding, strategic design, emotional intelligence, and metaphysics, to build living systems that grow people from the inside out. Her work centers on building shared languages for leadership, activating creative intelligence, healing the eternal child, resolving emotional friction, and developing leaders through their inner landscape. A student of life and a weaver of worlds, Katie is devoted to reviving an unwavering spirit of learning that awakens the young at heart and unleashes genius at every stage of life. Katie, thank you so very much. Oh, I'm glad you've come into focus now. Didn't start off very, very in focus, so that's brilliant. Katie, share a little of your story and why this particular topic.
It's funny when you couldn't quite say metaphysics. It took me right back into elementary school when you're reading and you can't quite say a word, and it brought me so much joy. And I wanted to share that because that joy is connected to the innocence of our inner child. And you can't go through life escaping pain. You're going to get hurt. You're going to experience things that are hard. And as you do, part of our insides kink. That flow of life gets blocked. We have parts of us that get thrown away because they weren't accepted. There's parts of us that are rejected. We start to repress pieces of ourselves that are all of who we're meant to be. And so we fragment our soul, our sounds of unconditional love. And when we do that, we don't feel like ourselves. We don't feel like we understand how we fit in the world. And so it took me in 2020, I got my master's. I did everything that I could have possibly done to do all the right things. And I wasn't happy. And I felt depressed, and I was experiencing insomnia and PTSD. And I had a near-death experience, and I had a seizure, and I almost died, and I met God and my team of angels. And there's so many things I could say, but what I realized was I had to stop. I had to full stop. And so for a year, I just listened. And what ended up happening was I had an adventure with my inner child. And Little Rat is what I was called my whole life. And I always have a picture around just to remember, because I believe that our inner child is the guard at our inner door to that place of peace within. And we can't enter unless we face that little girl or that little boy inside of us. And when we do, we get access to our genius, and all of a sudden our spirit starts to speak, our soul starts to speak through symbols. And that's the language of our subconscious, the language of our spirit. And so all of a sudden she introduced me to all of her animal friends and all of these things that were pre-verbal, but there was an energy and an essence that these animals were here to teach me. And there was a part of nature that was here to guide me back into wholeness. And so all of a sudden for this year, everywhere I'd go, I would be greeted either by just a symbol in nature or a bunny who taught me intuition, or going abalone shell hunting. And every single time I just listened. Every time I listened to my inner child, every time I listened to nature, and every time I listened to animals, something magical would happen. And I'd re-find this piece of me. And then all of a sudden, the corner pieces of my puzzle started to come together, and I started to understand myself and see myself with fresh eyes. And then this, of course, translated into my work. And so I re-entered back into the working world, started my business, School of Self, and I started to teach everything I had learned through the science aspect of things my whole life, because I was studying systems and metaphysics and consciousness and neuroscience and psychology. And then I had this lived experience of how all those things really, really play out, and what happens to your mind as you start to give way to the heart and kind of break through all of these stories. And so that's just a little bit about why I care so much about the eternal child and restoring our innocence, but then also turning to animals and to nature to take us on a journey.
No, brilliant. You commented about the stumble, and I'm one of these people. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not a reader. I've always struggled with reading. I write prolifically, but I'm not a reader because I've always struggled with it. And again, we were talking before, and there's the potential that I've got aspects of dyslexia. I've never been diagnosed, but complex PTSD can also bring out things like that. And so those things it's learning to connect with our inner child. But I think for me, it's very important that the adult can be a witness to what happened without reliving it, and can understand everything that went around it because of circumstances outside of people's control. So things were the way they were, but maybe the people closest to you couldn't do anything any different to what they did.
Absolutely.
And when the adult can understand, and I don't know whether you've ever heard the quote by Alice Little, as a traumatized child, you were desperately waiting for the adults that would come and save you. Didn't understand was that it would be yourself as an adult. And I love that quote because it's so very true. People like yourself and myself, we can help people to reconnect with their child.
Amen.
But they are the only one who can actually, they've got to participate in that process. Because we can't connect with somebody else's inner child. Only they can do that. That is the fulfillment of that quote. Now, you talk about wild-hearted wisdom.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Okay. So I love words. I love words. I love poetry. I love music, all for similar reasons, because you can say one word, just like a name, right? And that name carries with it associations and relations that activates this whole infinite field that we can't see. And it activates past memories from your life. It activates other people who have that same word when it's been used, right? And so all of a sudden in this field with one word, so much can become alive, and you start to have access to things that we can't see, but we can feel. I say that because I spent a lot of time meditating on words, especially because of that pre-verbal things. There was a lot that happened when I was young that I couldn't understand. And the only word that would land, because I grew up going to church, was like devil and darkness and evil. And so these words, like you say them and you get into a freeze and then you feel completely powerless, right? And so another word was wild for me. I would say that's wild all the time. It was like this unconscious kind of catchphrase. That's wild. There would be a synchronicity. That's wild. Or the bunny would show up. That's wild. And so I meditated on it and I said, God, like, what does wild mean? And so I sat, and I love acronyms. So God spoke and said, what is love doing? What is love doing? And it took me into this deeper state of every single time I would say, wild, like, what is love doing? What is love doing? It changed everything for me. And it changed how I related to nature. It changed walking into cities and seeing this perfectly manicured stuff. And like, what does wild feel like? What do wild woods feel like? What does a beach feel like? All of these things when it's not perfectly manicured. And what do I feel like when I'm not perfectly manicured, when I'm acting like a bear or a lion and I'm letting these things roar, if I'm being as sensitive and like gentle as a butterfly. And you start to feel into these different parts of you. And when you can feel into the diversity and the multitudes that you are, you all of a sudden, again, parts of those puzzle pieces start to fall into place. And you start to connect back to that unified whole of all that you are. And so all of a sudden you can see yourself outside your personality. You can see that you're loved beyond the fact that maybe you're not the best reader. But because maybe you're not the best reader, you have a superpower that nobody else has. And I love that. Like I loved being able to kind of lean into those different things and see my divine design through the lens of God, of like, what is love doing? I made you like this for a reason. And the things that person's better at you than, great, let them be. That's not what you're meant to be in your genius around. And so I love introducing that concept, because I think it then allows us each to stand in our light so deeply and just connect to who we are and exactly how God made us, good, bad, and ugly.
But is it good, bad, and ugly? Sort of, because there is, what is good for one person will be bad for another, and vice versa. And what is beautiful to one won't actually be very beautiful to another, because what do they say? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Mm-hmm. You use the word evil and devil, live and lived. Mm-hmm. Take that. And it's just, and so it is really, what do we do with words?
Exactly.
But I know this is about you and what you're sharing, but it came to me quite strongly. I work with people's name, toning it, and you said one word and can do it. Now, I wouldn't normally do this, but I am going to offer. Would you like to experience your name being toned?
Please. I would love that.
What did your mother call you as a child?
So I have like 3 names that I've been called my whole life. So my real name's Mary Catherine. My parents named me Mary Catherine knowing they'd call me Katie. So I was called both Mary Catherine and Katie. And then the other name I was called my whole life is Little Rat.
Sorry, I've got a sister called Catherine Mary.
Okay. There we go.
Yes. When you were younger, when you were a child, what were you mostly called? Can you remember?
Katie. Yeah.
So is it okay if I work with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Folks, even though this may not be your name, it doesn't matter, because there is the potential you will receive something from the energy of these sounds. Okay. My suggestion is that you sort of relax and you invite your roots, whether it's from the soles of your feet, the base of your spine, invite your roots down into Mother Earth, deep into Mother Earth. Mother Earth is sending up her love and her protection through your roots, into your feet, up into your legs, up into your whole body, totally surrounding and protecting you. It isn't about what you hear, it is about what you feel.
Mm.
How did that feel? I know, I saw. I didn't see the dog arrive, but I always work eyes closed.
Well, I mean, it immediately brought me to tears. I've never heard my name like that. I think Katie always kind of felt young, but all of a sudden it took on this like depth within me, and it just felt like peace, like complete peace. But it also called forth within me, and clearly my dog, who was asleep on the couch, that same energy. I mean, it was like a magnet.
And so that one word that could help change somebody's life is their own name.
Yeah.
And I deliberately asked the question about, what did your mother call you? Because I personally believe that we guide our parents with our name. And as much as Mary Catherine, or as my sister Catherine Mary, and she's Katie as well, yes. My youngest sister is Jacqueline Ann, but she's Jackie. I was Sarah Jane, but as a baby I was Jane. I changed it, which is why I always ask the question,
yeah,
did your mother call you as a child? Because my answer would have to be Jane. Although most people call me Sarah, and have done for a lot of years, because I'm the one who changed it. So change of name can be a rejection of self. And you haven't got to tone it. I channel that sound. You can speak it. Just say your name over and over. And all you're doing is acknowledging yourself. The eternal child. What do you mean by that?
When I watch children play, and they're so present, and then you see, and I work with kids, and I have nephews and nieces, and then you see, okay, something's happened, you're not quite sure. The next time you see them, and all of a sudden there's like this little bit of like all of a sudden they're not quite the same, you know? And the eternal child is that part of us that is just free. That's in innocence, that's in pure presence, that fully trusts life. And from that full trust of life feels so much peace. And from that place of peace, life is full of magic. You're not living from words, you're living from feeling. And you're living from your heart. You're not living up here yet. And you're listening, and you're paying attention, and you're talking with animals, stuffies. Just a stuffed animal can change your whole day. And I think when I think of the eternal child, it's that state of pure innocence.
Yeah.
And magic. And And even if we have been hurt young, we can still get back to that feeling. And it takes courage. It takes many different virtues. And to me, love is a practice. It's a verb. It means to lift our virtues every day. And when we can go back in with the innocence and peace and purity of our inner child and say, hey, we're going to love right now. We're going to learn some of these virtues. We're going to help you feel this. And everything changes.
I think for some, and obviously speaking from personal experience, some people have a real problem with the word love. And for me, I care. That is my word. Because I know I care so very deeply. And about so much.
Yeah.
And it probably goes more to nature than it does to human beings. But that doesn't stop me from caring very much about people. It is just that my biggest, and the next part is an animal spirit, because caring is just another word for love.
Yeah.
But if you are struggling with that word love, care's a good alternative.
Very true.
Because for me, it is my word for love. And if you're not sure about care, find a word that works for you. Because in spite of everything that happened to me, I have always cared. I've never lost that. And if you can cope with the word love, if you can really live with the word love, but people misunderstand the word love too, don't they?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons why similar to the word wild, I'd sat with the word love. And how is that possible? I sat with the word loved, and then I said, lift our virtues every day. Gives you a choice to understand what love really means. And this goes back to the eternal child. It's like one of the reasons I love being with children is they show us the pure expression of emotion. Fully, like anger, sadness, disgust, all of it. And it's beautiful. And I've learned through love, lift our virtues every day, to hold them with patience, with courage, with these different words that to me are what love is all about. Can you sit there with patience? Can you sit there with care? Can you sit there with freedom and beauty and whatever expression is coming through, and just hold them there and be patient? And all of a sudden love takes on a different flavor, and you start to feel its different tones because you understand what it really means, to me at least, because I can connect to virtues, and virtues will take me on an endless ride of embodiment of what does it really mean to be patient, because you're going to be tested. What does it really mean to be courageous? What does it really mean to be brave? What does freedom really feel like? What does it look like? What does it sound like? And that really helped me, because love had a lot of dark memories for me. There was a whole web of wounds that I had to sift through for such a long time. And it made me question a lot. But when I was a kid, I would write poetry, and I wrote, if I could give a present to the world, I would give love. And it's funny because that's still my mission. But now it means something different that I can teach to, and I can create spaces around, because it's virtue. And I think we see in the world so much, because there's so much pain, and pain is past adversity igniting now. Okay, there's so much pain. There's something from the past that's igniting. And a lot of us turn to vice. We turn to vice. But when we can learn that, this vice is actually an invitation for us to open to a virtue, all of a sudden we can see this energy as something that can be transformed and held differently and toned. And will help us not only value ourselves, but value the world and value relationship. And then everything changes when that happens. But I think so often it's challenging to do this, you know, but again, I think why I love so much acronyms.
That's about having fun.
Yes, it's the eternal child.
Yes, it's about, you know, when I go for a walk, it's just like I invite however many younger selves wish to come with me.
Mm-hmm.
If some of them want to hold hands, they can hold hands, you know, sort of whatever. It's, you know, when I work with people, the homework I give them is, when you go to bed tonight, invite every youngest aspect of yourself that would like to come in for a cuddle and go to sleep with you. And it was actually sort of New Year's Eve. And we have so many fireworks go off around here. It's ridiculous. It is just so noisy. And it would really in a built up area, but fireworks just go off every year. And so there's no point in going to bed anything before midnight, because you'll get woken up. And it was literally just after 12 when I got into bed. And I got the sense that were aspects of myself that were uncomfortable with all the noise for whatever reason. And the thought came, was it all the clattering of everything that went on in hospital when I was there at such a young age? And so I said, okay, come in, just come in. And they did. And I woke up a bit later and I got the sense there was one aspect off to the side and feeling left out. I said, come on in.
Yeah.
And because of all the work I've done, there's the confidence in my younger self to be able to accept that the younger selves know that I am there for them. So the more work we do, the more connections we make with our younger self. And that aspect came in. I don't know what that was about, but maybe that was not feeling listened to, not feeling heard, which can happen with situations so many times with a child.
Absolutely.
So yeah, carry on.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, this goes to the nervous system, right? And these alarm bells, when they happen early in life, those alarm bells, they misfire, but they also are there, again, past adversity igniting now, to give you another rep and holding yourself, but also having the patience, that love to be like, wait, but something still isn't quite right. Could go inside. Ooh, there's one piece. Come on in. And that takes such depth. I mean, not everybody can do that or even feel that something's quite out of place. And that speaks to you as a healer, you as a soul, and your depth and your ability to heal not only you, but everybody you come into contact with. You know, it's like the most beautiful thing. And I did a similar thing because there was a lot of tension for me when I first opened back up to my inner child, because she was buried. It felt like she was buried under so much rubble and ruins, and she was so scared. And so I asked her, like, what do you need? And the way that she coped was through all the animals. Like, they were her friends. And so she made stuff with them, and she learned from the bees, and she learned from the elephants, and she learned from the bears, and they each taught her something, and she learned their language. And so every morning, and it's interesting because I've stopped doing this and I need to start doing it again. I wake up and I just hug myself until I can feel all parts of me soften. And I'm like, okay, I'm right here. Like, I'm right here. And it's just so important. And it also, the other thing that's coming to me is just like the power of imagination. And I think sometimes we write off imagination like it's fantasy, but it's not. It's a superpower, and it is a God-given skill that is so important to have to connect to our soul. And I think about how that impacts a child today when they're so often on screens, and so their imagination is being robbed and atrophied. And I think about how much time I spent as a kid, like staring at the clouds and looking for shapes. And that was spirit speaking to me. All of those shapes that I saw was spirit. Like, we're here. You're with us. We're in a relationship. And it struggles and it hurts my heart so deeply when I try to do that activity with a kid or an adult and they're like, I don't see anything. Like, what are you talking about? And then we can hold space for that, right? And then we can start to get into how that imagination got blocked, how it got kinked because of a pain and a trauma. And then we start to get somewhere. But I love that story you shared and what it brought up in me.
Isn't it important for each of us? I'm just open and honest with people.
Yeah.
And standing at fairs and events, talking to people, sort of online, whatever I'm doing. And I'm just open and honest. And I have been ticked off by a friend of mine. You can't talk to people like that. It's, well, yes, I can actually. Because the way I look at it is, if I've said something to somebody, it might be the first time somebody said it.
Mm.
And if they then have it said to them again, and it's, that funny woman at that vent back sort of said something like that. Or I could be the third one that actually helps them to listen, to hear. Because they say if something comes at you 3 times, it's the universe trying to get your attention. Me, I've always loved looking out at the stars and the moon. These cloudy nights have not been a lot good for that. But what speaks to you? I loved watching thunderstorms and lightning crashing across the sky as a child. And I don't know why, but we lived in an old house that got 2-foot thick walls. And so the windowsill was lovely and wide. I could sit on the windowsill with the curtains closed and look out the window. One of the few memories I do have from childhood. But it's allowing, but the child has to come round in their own time. They've got to learn to trust. And they have to learn to trust you. But imagination, but dreams. I see dreams almost as a gift from our future self.
Me too.
To inspire us to be able to get to where they are.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I love, and I think too, like, dreams get written off, especially in this society, right? I mean, growing up in the States, it's very, I mean, overall everywhere, it's a very intellectual world that we live in, very mind driven. And dreaming walks this fine line. You know, you dream too much, she's a little bit unhinged. You dream too little, you're not happy. And there's this like fine space. But I think what it really comes back to, and I'm so glad that we did the vocal toning for my name, is that rooting deep. No, you can be the biggest dreamer in the world, but if you can stay rooted, you're great, you know, and you're going to reach that dream for sure. And you're going to be able to withstand any single storm because your roots go so deep into the core of the earth, and you understand ancient wisdom. You understand that you're connected to everything around you. You understand that even if something breaks, you can still go on, and that can heal. And there's all these different components that make relating to the pain that we all experience easier, or maybe not even easier, but worth it. Because in order to rebuild trust, I mean, you have to rebuild. There's been something that's been broken. There's been something that's been shattered, and that is not for the faint of heart. Like, it takes so much courage, and it doesn't just happen once. It's not like you're like, oh, this horrible thing happened to me, or this really painful thing happened to me when I was 4 years old or 1 year old. And, you know, you heal it once. It's like, no. You keep coming back to it over and over again, but your attitude in that dance starts to shift. And instead of it being, oh, not again, and sometimes that's there, you're like, hey, I've got you. I know how to do this. I trust this path. I trust the process. I trust this darkness. I trust because I know that a seed needs darkness in order to take root. And I know that a seed, in order to grow, has to shatter its protective shell, and for a butterfly or a caterpillar to become a butterfly, it turns to goo. And this is where turning back into nature and your imagination helps you relate to the healing process so much, because you're like, oh, we're just going through the same thing that everything on this planet is. And we also then have a gift of being able to use our mind in service to our heart and to this journey, and poetry and music and healing and coming up with our own healing modalities, whatever it is. And that's such a beautiful gift. And that's innovation to me, and why I love innovating so much, because it's taking something from the past and learning how to relate to it differently in a way that serves not only you, but your relationship and the collective. And it's just this constant cycle of learning and iteration and refinement, and just like, okay, V3 here, V5, V55, like version whatever. It's like, we keep learning and keep getting better.
It's about growing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about changing, it's about growing. And the revisiting, it's that spiral, isn't it? It's the revisiting isn't because you've done anything wrong. It's because now you've allowed the integration of the first part. Now you can go deeper. And then you can come round again with the integration, and you can go deeper and deeper and deeper. And you're never ever going to do it in that first go.
No.
Not if it's something that has gone, I refer to it as a deep cellular memory level, because you may not have any physical memory of something, but it's held within your body. But I'd like to go on to the final part, because and I think you and I could talk for ages.
We could. I love it.
The animal spirit. So share a little about what you mean by that, and where that comes into the wild-hearted wisdom, the eternal child, and animal spirit.
So from a young age, I don't know if you know Beanie Babies, but I spent a lot of my days with my Beanie Babies, and every day I would code them differently. I would lead classes with them, and I would put the red ones together, and I'd put the ones that had brown together, or I'd be like, oh, we're going to talk to just the horns today, or we're going to talk to whatever. And I didn't realize at the time what I was doing, but I do now, because we all have we all have these inner beasts. We all have these animals living within us, and every animal is in charge of stewarding an environment, and that environment has different adversities. It has different natural disasters. It has different threats. And so the thick skin of a rhino, we can relate to, right? We can relate to an animal. We can relate to the restlessness of a rabbit, right? And all of these things, the hard shell of a turtle, all of these things, we can look at animals and we can see how they've adapted to not only survive in their environment, but to thrive. And so those same adaptations live within us, and we can learn about some of those cellular memories based upon how we can relate to the energy and the essence of animals, not only energetically, but also from an adaptation perspective. And I think that that's the most beautiful thing in the world. And then on top of that, our subconscious and our spirit speaks to us through symbols. So it's no surprise that, I mean, obviously we grow up playing with stuffed animals, right? But we also, most businesses and most sports teams use animals or an element in nature as their mascot for a reason, right? It's that spirit, it's that subconscious, it's that energy. It goes back to the name and the word of bringing all of this unseen. And when we can connect to that, all of a sudden the world becomes very magical. And it's not just an actual, you're walking down the street and you see a wolf, but you can be walking down the street and there can be someone wearing a t-shirt with a wolf. And that's the same thing reaching you. And that's spirit speaking to you. And so when you can connect to and have a relationship to animals, all of a sudden your world oh my gosh, your meaning making, your spirit expands in such a way. And that connects us to the energy and the magic of the eternal child, because all of a sudden you're like, ooh, what am I going to see today? Like, what's going to be on the license plate, or what's going to be in the coffee shop, or whatever. And that's there to tone you, I believe. Whenever this animal enters the picture, it's here to tone you. It's here to tune you. It's here to help you dial in to the divine. And I think it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, I could go on and on and on about it, but that's just a little bit.
I've connected with many mythical beings, amongst them the werewolf. And they sort of said that they have given us all our own guardian wolf. And that we are one with our wolf. Well, the word were is the Old English word for man. Man wolf. And we are one with our wolf. But we're not just one with a wolf, are we? We are one with all that is. Every living creature, we are part of this planet. The planet is part of us. And I remember years ago being part of some Lords of Melchizedek workshops, and that it was just like, right, we're going to go into a meditation, and you are going to become basically one with the world. Everybody else shared their what happened in the meditation for them, and most of them found a well and dived into it and became part of the world that way. Yeah, not me. Seriously, what am I doing? I found myself going off planet because we are vast beings. We are not this flesh-covered skeleton that we think we are. We're vast beings. I found myself above the planet, and I'm sort of like opening, well, I say arms, and just bringing the earth into me. Because we are one with. It's not separate to us. We're not separate from each other. And we're not separate from the whole of nature. I see a dead animal at the side of the road and it breaks my heart.
Same.
And it's, how connected are we? And I still use the word care because I do care so much about that. How connected are we to ourselves? Everything that we seek outside of us is right inside us. And so connecting with ourselves brings us back to that connection with everything. We find love, we find care, we find understanding, trust, belief, all within ourselves. We can bring that out in the most amazing ways to other people and to our planet. And that's, I think, all of this that you've been talking about. It's that when we can have that connection with ourselves, our child, we find we have a greater connection to all that is.
Absolutely. I've created a whole, well, God created through me a whole new emotional language, symbolic language that is similar to Winnie the Pooh, but there's 33 animals, and it takes us into each animal and kind of what its superpower is and what it does to keep the world in balance and to help it heal. Like, it's so simple, right? You get a cut when at all, you get a cut and it heals. Like, we are literally designed to heal. That means the earth is designed to heal. The only thing that blocks that healing is our mind. And when we're moving from the vice, when we're moving from that disconnected place. And so I think it's so interesting because, so for Hippo takes us from haunted, when something's haunting us, into humility. And the gateway is honor. How do we honor this? How do we honor it and understand that anytime there is something that feels like it's haunting us, it's really just an invitation for us to learn humility and to get practice and honor. And I think a lot about hippos because they're so cool. Like their big feet, right? The way that they move, they're actually what creates rivers. The way that they move, so all of a sudden they make rivers flow. They connect little things that aren't connected just through how they walk and what they eat and what they do. And so without hippos, there would be no rivers flowing. There wouldn't be rivers that are connecting. And so whenever I feel like I'm being haunted from my past, I'm remembering, ooh, the hippo's here. It's connecting parts of me that were disconnected. It's plugging back in a part of me so that I can flow again, so that there's not this block in my energy and I can feel more connected, not only to myself, but to everybody around me, because we all have things that haunt us in the past. It's just part of life. And if we can start to learn to talk about these things and not have it feel shameful or guilt, like we did something wrong or someone did something wrong to us, but this is just part of what it means to be human and part of what we're all here to do and to learn our role in healing and rebalancing and reconnecting, then everything starts to change. And we start to look to animals and what they do and how they move as instruction. And then also we can translate that behavior into things that we can start to do. Because I believe, and the future that I see is one where, I mean, we're telepathic. We can speak. We're constantly speaking. That goes back to the words in the unseen realms, right? And animals, I think we're meant to live in union with them. The werewolf, we're meant to be in right relationship to all of these things. But when we ignore our pain, the beast acts out, right? It doesn't know why it's roaring, but it hurts. But when we can start to learn what hurts and hold space for what hurts in a different way, we start to access hope, we start to access healing, and then all of a sudden we start to come back into union. And I see that world. And this also connects to something I've seen. There's a couple different people who I follow on Instagram who like are one with the lions in Africa, and they like roll around with them like they're dogs. And I'm like, this is it. Like, I think this is what we all have the ability to do, but it starts with the internal game. Like we have to be able to orient and have our mind and our heart open up enough to be able to even imagine and dream of a world where that is. And then what needs to stop? Like, what can we not do anymore? If that is what we want, like, how do we turn these vices that we've turned to into virtues? And what do we value? And how does that change our conversation? Yeah. I mean, I could go on and on about this.
No, I love it. I mean, I've been blessed to actually walk with wolves.
What?
I was a member
like physical wolves?
I was a member at the UK Wolf Conservation Trust for quite a lot of years, but I spent a year as a trainee handler, and I actually got to walk with wolves.
That's so cool.
On more than one occasion.
Okay, so at first, were you a little bit like, ooh, were you a little bit on guard, or were you always just like, wow, this is the coolest thing?
No, funny you listen to the instructions and you do as you're told.
Yeah.
But I actually handled them. So but it, once they knew you, that was fine. But it's having respect with
absolutely
them. It really is. But so there's a very definite close link with wolves. But have you heard of trophic cascades?
No.
They're basically wolves and whales. There are two videos that are on, you'll find them on YouTube. And one is about wolves changing the course of rivers. And
yes.
To do with Yellowstone Park.
Keystone species. I love this.
Yes.
Studied it.
Another one to do with whales and whales within the sea, and how they actually help to capture the carbon, so that, and it not carbon, whatever. Anyway,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I sometimes lose words totally. And so and it's called a trophic cascade. So when they took the wolves out of Yellowstone, because the deer, etc., they got to roam free. They ruined the banks, they took out all the trees, and then the rivers were just all over the place. The wolves were reintroduced, and I was very blessed to meet a lady who was part of that reintroduction with the Nez Perce tribe. So I got to spend some time with them as well.
So cool.
Yes, and it is. And I have visited Yellowstone, and I have seen a wolf. I've seen coyote. I got to see a mountain lion. What we got to see while we were there. It was just a small group of us that went. It was phenomenal what we got to witness on that day.
Wow.
Sort of brown bear and grizzlies. And we got to see the full sort of, we really did. And watch and experience and witness that man interfering with nature, the 5 main top animals, we take those out and we destroy our world.
Yep. Well, and there's so many things to say about this, because even like offshore wind, for example, I mean, there's a lot of talks about that out here in California, and it kills all the whales. It completely destabilizes the entire balance of the planet. And it's like something that we don't really talk about. It's like, oh, it's like, no, it's not just whatever. and I care so deeply about restoring balance. And yeah, I love that you brought up the wolves, but I also think I work with horses, and it's a similar thing, right? And it's why it's so important to live in our heart. When you trust yourself and you trust that you're good, which we all are, and we all have done things that we aren't proud of, right? Whatever. And that healing journey is part of this. But when you can live in your heart space, it's like, I trust that I could go out and see a wolf or a bear, but my soul, our souls, our hearts are going to be like, hey, we're both here doing something good for this. We're both here to keep this planet in balance. And when you can root yourself in that truth within yourself, you can move through the world with a lot more trust, and the things that are meant to scare you don't, because you're like, no, like this thing isn't going to come after me, because it knows inherently in this realm, in the unseen, that we're on the same team, and I believe that. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
I've got a friend, and I said, oh, I'd love to cuddle a polar bear. He said, do let me know just before you do it. Because he's not expecting me to come back if I do. And I love that we can have some humor with this.
Yes.
Because it is so important.
It is.
We've shot over, and I don't care. I really don't. I hope people have really enjoyed and will really enjoy listening to this.
Yeah.
But is there anything we haven't touched on? And I will share your website in the chat here, but I'll put it under the video on YouTube as well. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you'd like to add before we close?
I would just encourage and invite everybody who's listening to do one thing every day to honor your eternal child. Maybe it's just playing a song. Maybe it's cuddling a stuffed animal. Maybe it's reading a page of a kid's book. I don't know. Whatever it is, even if it's just sitting and calling them in, spend some time there, because that inner child is the guard at the gate of your place of peace within, your divine door. And so the more we can spend time with them and restore our connection to that, the more we start to create heaven on earth, which I believe that we're here to do. And we're all here to do that in our own unique way. And so the more we can connect to that child, the more we'll be in the kingdom of God together. And that's a world that I want to continue to steward. So that's all I'd say.
Bless you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
Katie's website is Katie, Katie, Bruzzone, BRUZZONE.com. It's in the chat. It will be under the video on YouTube. It has been a real pleasure. I know you and I could carry on talking very easily. Thank you so much for joining and sharing. This has been a wonderful, wonderful topic. Next week, we have a Today's Conversation program for you. Standing with survivors of sex trafficking. And I believe this is actually about children, to do with Sue Ernst's book. It's going to be, and the book's called Call to Serve. It's going to be, I think, a very powerful conversation. And I hope that you will consider joining us for that. We do touch on very many different things on these programs. We don't shy away from too much at all. So please do take care, be safe, stay well. I hope you'll join us again in the future. Namaste, sweet souls.